Hi guys. So this is going to be online workshop number 2, introduction into Git. So regarding today's content, I'm going to slightly touch upon versioning control, what it is and why we should care about it. Then I'm going to touch upon the Git itself, show some of its useful commands, and show a bit of demos. And then we're gonna look into GitKraken and how it kind of makes our daily lives easier working with version control and Git. To start off, we all create documents and we all edit documents. It doesn't matter, is it either text, images, or videos. We all have different versions and types of those. And usually the process is the same, right? You create a file, then you save it, you make some changes to the file, you save it again, and then the process kind of happens in loop. And you can actually put it on a timeline. So you firstly create a file, then let's say this is a example of a thesis. So you add an abstract, then you fix some grammar issues, update some references, you add a new paragraph. And the thing in this specific thesis example is that if you want to go back at some point, you might want to have a different version of the file to go back to. Let's say the newly added paragraph you created is kind of redundant and you want to just go to a version before. And usually the way that it looks is kind of like this, right? So you have thesis and you have like thesis final. And then if you have a supervisor, let's say it's named Nick, then you have thesis final, Nick's edit, and then after fixing comments, you have thesis final. And this is all good and everything, but then you might get in trouble when there's a couple of files involved. But still talking a bit more about version control, we all have used Google Docs, right? And in essence, that's what version control is, right? So you have a document, you have option to collaborate on the same document, multiple people at the same time, and you also see a history of a file, so you can see what changes, who did when, and this is in essence version control. Yeah, and the things we are concerned about the changes is who did the change, when was the change made, and what exactly was changed. So then you might wonder, why do we actually need Git, right? So where does Git makes its glory? And the truth is that Git actually helps you to keep on track not only single file, but a directory, or imagine a folder of files. You can keep in track on different file types. So it starts off with tracking changes. So you can easily see which lines you have added, which lines you have deleted. And it also provides you with synchronized code and files between multiple people collaborating on the same project. Here you can see a rather simple scheme of Git project. So on the bottom corners, you can see 2 people collaborating on the same file in this example. And then the top in the cloud here, there's GitHub. And this is just a cloud where even these Git repositories are saved. So let's say first computer right here makes a change, adds a 3rd line. And let's say the other computer or the other user makes a change and adds a header. So they both push the file to the GitHub. So they both push their changes to the cloud, updating the end result file. And what GitHub also enables is that each of these users can pull down these changes, what other people have made. So if your teammate has updated document, you can have the changes that he has made on your computer in no time. Another useful feature is reverting changes or going back versions. So this is, let's say, previous example of adding a new line and deleting a line. So if we don't want, if we want to kind of scrap these changes of deleting the third line, we can easily go back to the version before, or for the sake of argument, any version whatsoever. So now we're gonna dive in a bit of a theory of Git, and I'm gonna try to explain some of the Git commands. What do they do and how they work? And on the same time, I'm gonna try to show a little demo as I explain each command. So the first one I'm gonna talk about is git clone. So this basically, you remember the cloud image we had with 2 computers in cloud? So this basically takes a repository, which is just a folder of your files saved on a cloud, and it kind of pulls it in your computer. And this folder kind of tracks changes at the same time. And you have 2 different options here, one of which is clone, which is basically a copy, a disconnected one, and fork is a connected copy. We're not going to touch upon much on forking now, but we're going to look into how cloning works. So here we have a simple Git repository. So this is GitHub. This is the place where the files are saved and stored. And you can see this is my account, and this is the name of the repository or folder. And here you can see files. Currently, I only have 1 file in it, and this is this README file, or basically just a info about the whole folder. And so pulling or cloning, cloning works as simple as that. So you have a button up here. You click clone, you copy the link, and then you go to terminal. And terminal is just a way of inputting commands to your computer. And you just say git clone and just paste in the link we just copied. It's going to create a folder where I specified, and let me quickly open up the repository. I believe this is the name. All right, so what we have done so far is we have downloaded the repository from the Git Cloud, GitHub, and you can see the same things we had here in the cloud, we have in our file right here. So yeah, that's it. Let's move to the next command. And next command is git status. With this git command, you basically just see what's the status of your repository, your local repository. So let's see that one in action. So if I type git status, it basically says we are on a master branch. We're going to touch upon branching a bit later. Your branch is up to date and nothing to commit, working 3 clean. So it basically gives information on your current status of your Git repository. Next command is git add. And what git add does is whenever you make any changes to your files, you want these changes to be saved. So git add adds these files in the staging area, which is kind of between saving the file. And the reason why the staging area is sometimes needed is that if you're working on 10 different files at the same time, but you only want to make change to 5 of those, you can add 5 of these files to staging area without adding all of them, and then pushing these changes to the GitHub. So let's say we have a list here. I'm gonna add a 4th point of making YouTube videos. All right. So if I want to make these save these changes, I basically type git add, and there's two options. You can either, this is a bit wrong, so you can either do git add dot, which adds all the files, or you can just do git add and then type file name, and this adds file itself. And if we type git status again, we see here the changes are to be committed, and we see we have modified this file right here. Okay, so we have made changes to our file, added the file to the staging area, so we want to now save the file. How we do that is with another git command, which is called git commit. And some of these git commands take parameters, which are indicated by dash and a letter. And this command takes a parameter of message. So we can type git commit dash m, and then we type in the message, what is the change we actually made. Let me show that one in action. So I just type git commit dash m, and then I say this updates readme file. Okay, so we save the changes to the file. It's no longer in the staging area. If I type git status, it says, okay, there's no unsaved changes, but it says your branch is ahead of origin master by one commit. So what does this mean is that we have saved these changes, but the save has been done locally, and we haven't pushed the changes to the GitHub cloud. So if I go to our cloud right here and I refresh the page, there are no changes in the to-do list. So that brings us to our next point, or next git command, which is called git push. What git push basically does is it takes these locally saved changes and pushes them up in the cloud. And it's just as easy as you say git push. All right, it went through. So if I now go to the repository, and if I refresh the page, it should add the fourth point, which we just added. All right, so far so good. We're moving to the next point, which is git pull. And git pull is opposite to kind of git push. So if you have changes, if someone made the changes in the cloud, you can pull these changes down to your local repository using this command. And the way I'm going to show you this is I have another repository. So I'm basically imitating a second user right here with the same file, with the same, connected to the same GitHub, but it doesn't have the fourth point, which we have in the other one here. So if I say git pull on this repository, it should now pull down the changes. Here it says one file changed, one insertion made. And right here, you can now see that this line of making YouTube videos has been added. So that's how git pull works. But sometimes when we are collaborating on the same kind of code base or kind of the same folder of files, some conflicts might occur. So conflicts usually occur when multiple people are working on the same file, and they have done different changes, and when you do git pull, Git doesn't know which changes to take into account and which ones to discard. So let's try to recreate. So let's say we want to delete the second point right here. in this one. So this is the second. Oh no, this is the first computer. We're gonna do git add, git commit. We're gonna update the thing. And if we now go to the second folder, and if we just decide to change this line to something else, let's say start YouTube video production, and we do git add, and we do git commit. And now if we, because there's two different versions of the file now, and we want to do git pull. Well, this didn't work as expected, but it should, oh, because I didn't push this one. So I have to push the changes into the server, into the GitHub. And then if we go back to the other one, and if we want to pull these changes, it would say, here's a conflict, and you need to resolve this. And how conflicts work is you have a head, and in between the head and these multiple equal signs, you have the changes that you have made. And between equal signs and this is the ID of the merge request, you have the incoming changes from the server. And you basically have to choose which one to stick with. So let's say I'm just gonna stick with the video production. So I'm gonna delete this one right here. I'm gonna delete these lines right here. And then I'm gonna do git commit. And let's say we resolve the merge conflict. It didn't resolve. I have to add the changes. Okay, and then we can type git commit. And then we do git push. And this has now resolved the conflict that we had between both files. Another useful feature of Git is branching. So what basically branching does and enables is that you can think of a branching as different versions of the repository. So let's say you have a project and there's 5 people collaborating on the same project, and you want to do each people working on a different feature or a different thing. You don't want to all at the same time push the changes to the main code, to the main kind of this repository, but you rather want to, you know, push changes, develop one your kind of feature until it's finished, and then when it's finished, then and only then push the changes back into the main branch. And this is what kind of branching is used for. So you basically branch out of the master, you commit your own changes, and then you kind of merge that branch back into the master branch. So we're gonna quickly see how that one works. Let me see. So this is our main one, right? So you type git branch, and it basically gives you information on the branches themselves. So currently we only can see master here. So that only indicates we have a master branch, and the star says on which branch we are currently located. So if we type git branch and the name of the branch, let's say new feature. This command right here creates a branch called new feature. So if we now type git branch again, you can see there are two branches. We're still on the master one, indicated by the star. And we also have a new feature branch. And the way you can actually move between the branches is using git command checkout. So if I want to jump from the master branch to the new feature branch, you just type git checkout new feature. It gives a feedback of switch to new feature. And if we type git branch again, we can see that there's no more star next to the master branch, and we can see the stars has moved to the new feature, indicating that we are on the feature branch and ready to develop our feature. And let's say we, in our feature, we want to do another to-do list. Let me just copy this one, say another list. Just gonna do basic things. First thing, second thing, and third thing. All right, does that? So the changes have been made. We already know the drill. We do git add dot means adding all the changes. Then we do git commit, and then we can type a message saying added another to-do list. And then it's done. We do git push and done. And the thing is, if we go to the cloud right here, and I just refresh the page, I don't see the changes here. And the reason is, well, we have pushed these changes in and submitted them to the cloud, but they are not on the main branch. So they're in their feature branch. And we now want to kind of push these changes from our branch to the kind of main branch. And the way we do that is by another git command, which is called git merge. And you basically have to call this command from the branch you want another branch to be merged in. So let me demonstrate that real fast. So you do git checkout master, meaning you're jumping back to the master branch, and you see how the changes here got lost because they are on the feature branch, not on this one. And if you want to merge the changes in, you just have to type in git merge. In branch name, you type in your new branch name, and it just merges. So git merge new feature merges. Sorry. Yep, this is how it should be. And then you do git push, saving the patch first. Sorry, you have to pull the changes. Made a bit of error here. Accept current changes. Okay, git add, git commit, merged, merge, conflict resolved, and then git push. Okay, sorry for that. So, but basically, had some difficulties, but you use git merge to merge feature branches back into the main branch, and you now can check the status. You're in the master branch. new feature branch is still there. You go to the GitHub, and you can see another list is added right here. And then when sometimes we are done with the branches, we can also delete them as we don't need them anymore. And that's done by another flag or this command on the command itself. So you type -t for deleting a branch, and then you type a branch name. So, and it says deleted branch, new feature. And if you do git branch again, you see there's only master branch left. Cool. And this concludes the most kind of basic things you can do with Git and kind of the core principles and the core commands of Git. But it kind of sometimes gets too messy, and in the beginning, when you have to work with the terminal right here and kind of directly get into commands for kind of Git or computer to do certain tasks, it might seem not necessarily appealing or not the ideal. And actually, the way loads of people go, even some experienced developers, is with graphical interfaces. And there's one for Git as well. There's actually plenty of them, but today we're going to talk about one specific one, which is called GitKraken. And basically, this one enables you to do all the previously mentioned commands with a beautiful interface. So first of all, you need to have a GitHub account. And so you can either go to GitHub if you're not a student, but if you're a student, you can follow this one link here and register, which is GitHub's education pack. And they also give you loads of different added services and bonuses as a student. When that's done, you go to GitKraken's page. You can follow this link right here, and you sign up with GitHub, basically using GitHub as a sign-in method, and then authorize your GitHub to GitKraken. And then you have to download the app for the use. I've already done that. And then you just have to make sure that you have integrated the GitHub. GitHub is still integrated in the app. So let's just take a look at the app. So here's the app. I'm gonna quickly show the settings. You just have to check it out, whether if you go to settings and authentication, GitHub, make sure that you have your GitHub connected right here. If that's not, then just connect it. It's gonna give you options to connect it here. But if it's connected, then it's all good. And the way we can do all the previous things is quite simple. So let me quickly delete the repository that we had here. And then, so if you want to clone a repository, it's just as easy as copying the link. You can actually go directly from your, it already see, so you can either go with the link and copy a link right here. But if you have GitHub connected, it automatically detects all the different repositories you have. We're gonna go with Raccoons Git and clone the repository. So it's cloned. We're gonna open it now, and here you can see all the history of Git that we've made before, but in a more kind of appealing and a more visually attractive way of the history of the files. You can see there was this branch we created, the new feature, then we merged it back together. So this is just kind of like a timeline of history of your folder, your repository you have on GitHub. A quick tour of the whole thing. So on the left side, you see remotes. Those are kind of branches. These are the ones that are located on the cloud. These are the ones that are located local, meaning your machine. On the top, you see different projects. And then you have main interactions right here. You have git pull, you have the push, you have the branching here as well as stashing and popping. Those are also useful features. Not going to touch upon them today, but definitely worth to explore. And then the right here, you can see the files that are being changed. And the beauty of this editor is also that if you click on a file, you can easily see in a kind of comprehensive view what changes has been made. So this is the file before, this is a file after the changes has been done. And I think we also removed something somewhere. Yeah, so if you deleted a line here, add it here, this is how it shows. Can easily understand what changes have been made. And if you're working with more and more files, this is really easy. So let's try to make some changes. I'm going to just add a fourth thing right here. Going to close this one up as we're not gonna. Okay, this is saying that kind of makes sense. Let me quickly change. This is Raccoons Git, and then we go this. So editor was complaining that we deleted the files, deleted the folder, and we couldn't open it up. Okay, so we add. Still complaining? Nope. Okay, so we're gonna add a fourth thing here. And we can actually see the changes here. And before we had to type down git add either a file or file name. Here is just as easy as one click. You click stage file and it already stages the file into a the staging area right here. And if we would make multiple changes to the file, let's say I stage it right here, and if we would make another change right here, let's say fifth thing, started typing. So you can actually only stash partial changes. So some of the changes of the same file are not staged, some of the changes are staged, and you can stage them all together, and you can remove easily. Let's say I only want to push in the fifth thing, not the fourth thing in this list. I can remove it, so it's on this part. It's only stashed, and so these changes won't get be committed and saved in our directory. But for now, let's save both of them. And committing, the next step you do after adding things to staging, is also extremely easy. So committing part is done here in the bottom. You type down the message, the commit message, updates README file, and committing is just as easy as pushing one button. So we have already added to the staging, committed. Now it's time to git push. It's also a single button click up here. You push that to origin, and that's being done. And actually, so if we go back to the thing merging or these merge conflicts, those are extremely easy to be resolved on Git. So let's say we're gonna pull this changes in the second repository. Cool. So we have the newest changes right here. We also have opened it up right here, the second repository. Let's make some changes. Let's say I want to delete fourth thing and just add another thing right here. So we do that. We stage the file. We say updates README file. Commit the changes in. Push these changes to the cloud. It's all done. Then you go back. You switch to the other repository. And yet again, I'm just doing this as a purpose of replicating two different people interacting on the same repository. And let's say I want to add this thing right here. All right. So I'm right here. Did I push the changes? Yes, I did. They are already showing up here. Staging changes, saying that it updates the README file, and done. But now, before pushing these changes, I saw someone else has made changes in the master branch in the cloud, so I want to have these changes in my file. So I do pull right here on the top, and it says pull failed, merge failed, because there is a merge conflict, and it's basically saying, okay, so here the things coming from the cloud are, sorry, so these are my changes, and these are changes coming from the cloud. And here you can really easily interact with these things. So you can either add one or add another one. You can even skip different lines. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, you can change things right away here as well. And when you're happy with the outcome, let's say I'm only gonna stick with this one. That's that. I'm gonna mark this as a result, and you basically stage the file. You'd commit a merge, then you push the changes, and that's that easy. So you've resolved the conflict without with an ease. And if there's multiple files conflicting, this tool just makes it really easy. Yeah, I think that, well, yeah, that was us getting our hands dirty on GitKraken. I think that currently concludes the most things I wanted to get covered on GitHub, GitKraken, and Git itself. I think we have some time for questions if you guys have any. But if not, then thanks for listening.